Today's video is the answers to the questions that you guys have asked. So a lot of these questions came through YouTube, a few came through email, and a few came through Discord. So the first question comes from Braden. Braden says, how do you diagnose weaknesses in your play, and how do you work to improve on those weaknesses? So I think the best thing you can do is analyze every single game that you play. So the most important thing to do for chess improvement is to play a lot of games. And the second most important thing to do is analyze those games. And really there's an art to it. And I wrote a blog post on this that you can find on the website. I think it's called The Art of Game Analysis. And essentially what I like to do is I like to create a spreadsheet and I track every single game. And so the games are the rows, and then on the columns I log what types of takeaways that I have from the games. So those takeaways could be like, for me personally, I tend to not calculate deep enough, or maybe I forget my theory, or I don't understand the middle game plans out of a certain opening. I can log all those different things and see which of those tend to repeat themselves. So two things that I'm currently working on is, number one is calculation. I'm trying to work on being more concrete, seeing all the lines clearly. And number two is trying not to simplify, and it's kind of linked to the calculation. I tend to trade down too quickly, and sometimes when I only have a very slight advantage, I'll start trading down, thinking like, oh, I can convert this to a win. But maybe the advantage isn't enough to actually seal the win. So I need to work on, keeping it complicated when necessary and really working on my own calculation. So great question, Braden. The next question comes from Charvi. And Charvi says, what are the best books for a player of 1900 plus FIDE level? That's a really good question. So 1900 plus FIDE, that's a very strong player. You're kind of out of that club player range and you're pushing towards those titles. So what I would say is the Green series in the Yusupov book series, kind of the mastery level, I would start with those, work through all three of those books, and after that, Jacob Agard's series of books, Grandmaster Preparation, I would move on to those, and those are all very tough books. So that's what I would recommend for 1900 plus FIDE. You're kind of up in that rare air where there's not a lot of books targeted for your level, but those are the ones I would recommend. And then Charvi also asks, how do you differentiate between increasing space and overextending? That's a really good question as well. I think the way that you can really work on this is with the engine. So one thing that Leela and AlphaZero and some of those engines, the neural network engines, brought to the table is they really understand pawn structure and space and long-term advantages of space. So what you can do oftentimes is use the engine eval. Any modern engine, like the new versions of Stockfish do it, Leela will do it, and you can use the engine to figure out when a pawn push hurts your position and when it helps your position. So that's what I would do. Play around with different pawn pushes with the engine and see when is the space beneficial and when is it overextending, because there's definitely an art to it and it's not a simple answer. So the next question comes from Eric, and we actually have a couple Erics asking questions, so I'm going to call this Eric VIP Eric because he's a ChessGoals VIP level patron. And he asked, what are the worst attributes and best attributes for new players in terms of reaching their goals? So I think the best attribute for a new player to reach their goals is to really just love playing chess. All the players that I see increase quickly, honestly, they just love playing chess. And they could be playing 100 games in a week, no problem, because they just love it. Like, they don't have to think about how many games am I playing. They're just constantly playing. So I think that's the best attribute. The worst attribute for a brand new player, I think, is analysis paralysis. Just trying to read a bunch of different books and go on different YouTube channels and not knowing when to start, when really they need to just start playing some games and learning. So the best things to do for new players, play a lot of games and analyze those games after. Just the dog cam. The next question comes from the other Eric, And he says there are two types of puzzles, ones that train quick pattern recognitions like Puzzle Rush, and then there's harder ones that train deep calculation. Should a player do one of them more often than the other, and if so, which one? That's a really good question, Eric. So what I would recommend is for new players, I would focus more on the Puzzle Rush style tactics, the quicker tactics, building that intuition. For intermediate level players, so intermediate I would say is between 1100 and maybe 1700, I would recommend a 50-50 balance. So that's what I would say for a lot of players that I work with. Do about half and half. And that means if you spend a half hour on Puzzle Rush, you should spend a half hour on calculation puzzles, which may only be 2 or 3 calculation puzzles, but I think that'll find you a good balance. And then when you're a more advanced player, I think it's actually more important to work on deep calculation and learning different techniques and things to outcalculate your opponent, and then sprinkle in some kind of quick intuition type Puzzle Rush problems. So like the woodpecker method, for example, it's a great way to do pattern recognition, and it can really increase your quick tactics. That's something that I highly recommend. The next questions come from Mark. And Mark says, it doesn't take long to have a huge bank of annotated analyzed games, and that may be in various forms and folders, such as under specific openings. And he says, however, he doesn't think that many players go back and reread them because they get busy with other study priorities. So what's a good system to kind of go back and revisit those mistakes? That's a really good question, because yeah, you could have 100 games of takeaways, and how do you go back and look at them? To me, what I like to do, because I think it's efficient, I like to have that takeaway spreadsheet, and every so often you just reset it, start a new sheet. And what you're doing essentially is, let's say you do a new sheet every quarter, every 3 months. You're trying to figure out what 3 things or 4 things, however many you think are recurring constantly, do I need to work on for this quarter? And after each game, you log those takeaways, and in the future games, you're hopefully going to think about those exact types of mistakes and catch yourself doing them in the future games. So quarter 4 of 2021, the things you're working on might be completely different than quarter 1 of 2022. You might have actually corrected some of your mistakes from the previous quarter. So I would say just keep restarting. Or keep a running list and only look back, so maybe 3 months back, and keep resetting. Because I think you could, take 10 years of data and keep trying to go back to all your old mistakes, but I don't think that's really efficient. And after a while, you're just spending a lot of time repeating the same things over and over. So I would say, kind of set a time limit on how far back you go. Good question, Mark. So the next question comes from Matthew, and he says, did you make much use of computers or databases when you were a junior? So I'm kind of dating myself here a little bit. So I'm 35, and when I was a young player, studying on the computer was sort of just starting to become more popular. But the internet wasn't real popular, and a lot of the content was not online. It was you had to purchase a DVD or whatever, VHS tape, I don't even know. So I didn't do a lot of computer and database use until I was probably maybe 14, 15, and then at that point I was kind of around expert level. But yeah, I would say there was kind of that transition phase where the internet started to get more popular, and that's when I started using the computer a little bit more for chess. Then Matthew says, now that computers are found everywhere in databases, would you have chosen to use them or not in hindsight when you were a beginner? In other words, is there too much information at some point down the grades? I've never thought about the question in that way, but I actually think it's a really good one. Yeah, I think there's some danger in using the computers too much, because if you're relying on just what the engine says, you're not thinking for yourself so much. So when I was a junior, my chess coach, Ed, him and I could analyze one OTB game and spend like a half hour on it, because we would just go through all the lines, try things out against each other. He would say, you should do this, and I would test it and say, well, what about this? And he would say, I do this, and we would play out 30 moves and then go back. I think that's a really valuable skill to have. And also, you don't want to have your online time just suck up all of your time that you could be playing chess games. So I played a lot of OTB chess, and I'm glad that I did. So I think, computers are a great tool, but just make sure that you still, do some thinking on your own, and also make enough time to keep playing. Don't spend all of your time on the computer doing training. Okay, then the next question comes from VIP Eric. What are your goals for ChessGoals? This is such a good question, and I feel like, I don't even know, maybe I'm not that good of a business owner, but in terms of goals for ChessGoals, I think right now I'd just like to really keep growing in terms of the number of people that know about ChessGoals and how we can help those people improve. So there's no big goals in terms of making the community massive all of a sudden. I really like just kind of making incremental changes and trying to add things and improve. And I really like the way that ChessGoals has been going. And Jesse is working on a trainer app, but we're not setting any hard deadlines on that or anything. It's just something that we're working on. Our YouTube channel is fairly new, and I've been really kind of excited and motivated to record videos for YouTube. I think it's kind of the best way for me to get content out there and get people kind of hearing about ChessGoals and bringing them into our Discord. Yeah, I remember in the beginning I was kind of shy or not real comfortable recording videos, but now it's kind of second nature, and yeah, somehow it's okay just talking to the computer screen and no one talks back. But yeah, so that's my answer. No big ambitions for ChessGoals, but I really like working on it and kind of slowly improving things. Right now, I would say YouTube is a big focus, and I'm working on a new course, 1E4. I really enjoy the opening courses, and we've gotten a lot of good feedback on them, especially this most recent Slav course. So those are kind of two things that I want to focus on, YouTube and the courses. And VIP Eric also asked, how long did it take you to achieve the National Master title? And what was your best game? Best game, that's really hard to quantify. So I did upload 2 videos where I beat FIDE Masters, OTB Classical. And I think those are my best games in terms of highest rated players I've beaten. I've never beaten an international master in a slow game, but a couple of FIDE Masters. But I think someone asked me this question before and said, could you do, I think Jordan asked, could you do video series on some of your best games ever? That's what I would love to do. So I have all of my old score sheets. I mean, I think there's only a couple I'm missing out of over 1,000. I'm going to go back through some old games and kind of match them up with the USCF tournaments. And I'm going to try to find some of my best games. So those videos will be coming down the line. So I'm going to have to punt on that question for now and just say, yeah, there's going to be videos to come on some of my better games throughout my childhood. Or chess career in general. Okay, and then Jordan asks, this is a question I get a lot. Are you or would you consider pursuing further titles such as FM, IM, or GM? If not, why? So right now my USCF rating is in the 2230s, and it's at an all-time high, and it's been kind of slowly inching up. Each event I play, it seems like I'll gain 2 points, 5 points, something like that. But I don't think I am currently strong enough to even be 2250 USCF. I don't think I'm at that level. But to get a FIDE title like FM, that's 2300 FIDE. So I think I would need to be above 2300 USCF by a pretty big margin, maybe 2350 or higher USCF, to really even be thinking about a FIDE Master title. So if I were to set a goal, I would set a goal of 2300 USCF and see if I could work towards that first. But currently, I actually don't have any goals to improve like that because my chess time is just focused on chess goals currently. And my job is working on a computer at home. ChessGoals is mostly on a computer at home. And studying chess is mostly on a computer at home. So I think I would rather focus on ChessGoals over my own chess improvement out of the two. So that's why right now, no focus on my own improvement. But I do like playing over the board. And that's something that I'll continue to do. And I'll kind of work a little bit on my chess when I have OTB events. And then a couple people asked, what's your main job? Are you a chess coach, full-time ChessGoals, or something else? So my main job, my day job, I work as a statistical programmer. So what I do is kind of collect data, clean up data sets, analyze data, run statistical models, report results, stuff like that. So it's kind of a mix of a statistician and a programmer. MadG, oh, that was from Future Magnus. I don't know if I mentioned that. MadG173 on YouTube asked, what's the name of your dog? My dog's name is Memphis, like the city, Memphis, Tennessee. And a quick backstory on Memphis, he actually was originally from the Memphis, Tennessee area. So he was in a shelter there and they had too many dogs. It was overflowing with dogs. And there was a group of ladies that actually were picking up dogs from down south. So I live in Minnesota, and they were essentially bringing them up here to find foster parents. And then from there, those dogs could be adopted. So that was what happened with Memphis, and that's how he got his name. He was originally from down there, kind of moved up to Minnesota. He had a foster mom, and we found his profile online and met up with her and adopted him. So a few adopted chess players, and that's the first adopted dog. And then the last question, VIP Eric, what would you like everyone to know about chess? This is a really cool time to be a chess player in the last year or two. Like, even though the situation where a lot of us are stuck at home or been quarantined in different periods is not real fun. Honestly, in terms of chess content and the chess that's out there, there's like no better time to start playing chess. And I think what I would tell non-chess players is don't be intimidated by playing chess. Like, there's a lot of brand new players. Everyone starts out just like you do when you're new to chess. And just start playing and have fun. You know, there's Chess, there's chess.com, there's other chess servers, there's Chess Kid if you're a kid. Like our local club now, any night I go there, I would say like half the players are pretty new. Like, a lot of players and kids especially are just excited to learn chess. And it's a really great game. And I would say, like, the years of my life where I didn't play chess, I probably should have been playing chess. Like, I don't know what I was thinking, why I wasn't spending at least a little bit of time on chess, because it's just something that, you know, can always bring you enjoyment. You can always improve. And there's really just like a nice art to chess when you watch chess games. And yeah, it's a great hobby. I would recommend it for anyone. So that was the last question, question number 12. I really appreciate everyone sending the questions in. I hope you guys learned something from this video, or at least found it interesting. So please like and subscribe. And yeah, we'll do another one of these soon, maybe in a month or two, collect some more questions and do another Q&A. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.